Today we have on Chef Elizabeth Faulkner, also an author, also an activist, my old friend, and we're going to catch up on everything from noodle soup to traveling all of China to to explore all of the cuisines, the regional cuisines with also a friend, Chef Anita Lowe. So lots of stories to tell, lots to look forward to when we get out safely.
Lots to look forward to when we get out safely.
Simulcasting this
Just
on
waiting
Stimulus TV.
minutes for Elizabeth to join up. We'll also be simulcasting this on
House.
Stimulus TV, channel on. Just watching. I see Chef Faulkner is in the house.
Hi.
Stimulus TV on Twitch.
In the house. And we also had Leiti Hsu. Elizabeth, this is a hot party because even before you asked to join, my friend, the former GM of the Palais des Chines in Taipei,
the first 3 Michelin-starred restaurant in Taiwan,
asked to join.
This is a hot party.
Ah, nice. How are you?
Very, very good. How are you doing?
You look fabulous. Tell me about your t-shirt.
Oh, I'm just, I came out to Los Angeles from New York almost 6 weeks ago, and so I have limited clothing with me. I wasn't planning on. I didn't know how long I'd be quarantined, but this is actually a shirt from Cherry Bomb that I got a while ago. As you can see, I've turned it into a ragged little kind of, I don't know, hot weather shirt.
So you're all over the world,
all over the place, doing all sorts of super inspiring projects. Like I feel like you've done it all. You've been the cook and the chef, and you've been the owner of businesses, and you've written many a book, and you've been an artist, and you've spoken tons. You're someone who really speaks up for what you believe in.
So how do we pin you down? Like,
what's your typical non-quarantine rhythm?
I mean, well, when you say all that stuff, it's because I've been cooking professionally for 30 years now. So
it doesn't look like it. So we have to explain these things.
In between all of the cooking, which is constant for me, I mean, I don't like to sort of. It's hard to. I think I have a hard time with that sort of artist term too. But my dad's an artist. My dad's an abstract painter. I have a brother who's a recording artist and another brother who is a storyboard artist. And then I've also kind of looked at the medium of food as very much an artistic medium. So and then I've also done so many kinds of different ways of looking at food things through, I guess, a different lens, like performance art and more interactive things, because food is very interactive anyway. But I did a piece at Soho House just a couple of years ago called Croquembouche Bush Samurai. I've got all these different kinds of installations I'd like to do someday with food, and I think about that format oftentimes. Even when this whole COVID thing really hit the United States, I started thinking, oh, I could see this whole dining installation piece where the entire thing is just one giant plastic hazmat, like stick your hands in and then go through this other entrance to your mouth, and how horrible that would be just to be covered in plastic and try to experience food. But I just imagine something like that. So it's kind of how my brain works. If I'm not just thinking about how to make really kick-ass biscuits like I made this morning, or soba noodles or whatever.
You make your own noodles.
I've been making lots of noodles. It's true. Yeah.
So what are you cooking up today? You've got a noodle soup
for us.
Well, today I'm making kind of it's too hot to make soup today, so I was like, I'm gonna make
Really? You didn't say that to a Asian person?
I know, but wait, hang on, I'm gonna pull some out of the fridge here. I have. It's just like it's kind of. I wake up every day here thinking, okay, what am I wanting to make? So today I made some kind of like quasi soba noodles. Like I wish this is a little bit more whole grain buckwheat flour, so it's kind of not ideal, I think, for soba noodles. But I used a mixture of all-purpose flour and buckwheat flour and made these little noodles. So that just sounded good to me because we were talking about noodles, and pasta, and I've been making pasta for years. And but since I went to China, all over China and Thailand last year for the first time, I've been more obsessed with trying to be better at making a lot of different kinds of Asian noodles and learning more about them. Because, to be honest with you, like I go to Chinatown in New York and I've been there many times, but I wasn't comfortable even trying to comprehend, first of all, the language barrier and looking at packages and having no clue, how to read anything. So how would if I walk even where there's like fresh noodles in a Chinese market, I don't know what kind of noodles they are. They might say lo mein, chow mein, and all that stuff, but I don't really know I never knew how to make those. So it's been kind of like, okay, I got to learn how to make some of this stuff. And then, I'm a huge fan of like the rice vermicelli and sweet potato noodles and mung bean noodles, like using all the different starches. And then, of course, I was exposed to so much more of that over in both of those countries. So I just have like an obsession over like, oh my gosh, I've got to master, like steaming, pad see ew noodles. Because, like how cool to make fresh noodles like that. You just don't, it's something I've just never challenged myself to think about. But this period of time, I look at it like it's an opportunity in a lot of ways because everybody's learning how to make sourdough bread, and you're seeing all kinds of creativity with food stuff just because people have this extra time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same for me. I'm like, okay, I need to make stuff that I haven't made for years or come up with new things that I have never just done.
Right, like phyllo was
a project the other day. So many carby projects.
That's true. I've definitely not been shy of making pizza and pasta, and I made some dandan noodles the other day, and
I love that hot. Don't even dandan me. Don't do that.
But the phyllo dough too, I was like, why have I never made phyllo dough? Like of all these years, I've been doing pastry and savory, and I've never been obsessively trying to figure out how to make phyllo dough. And of course, anybody can learn any of this stuff on the internet, and you have to study it a little bit because not all recipes work by everybody. But I think just having a general, lots of experience with different doughs and things, I'm like, surely I can make that. And then when I made them, I was like, I think it's because, like, what's a revolution to me is, like in Chinese noodle making, or same with these buckwheat noodles, like soba noodles, it's so not Western. You like put the noodle, you rub everything in tapioca starch instead of semolina. So totally opposite of, Italian pasta making. But like the tapioca starch helps keep all the noodles separate. You kind of almost massage it into the noodles. And then it's the same with phyllo, except for you use cornstarch and a combination of cornstarch and flour to roll out the dough. It's almost like it's like kind of like I make a lot of, I made pot stickers the other day. The other day is like every day right now. Like the other day could be 6 weeks ago, it could be yesterday.
Right, we're like, signed up
the Chef Faulkner menu here in quarantine. Where can I sign up for that?
But it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes I need to make those things. I want to learn things. I watch people make, pulled noodles and stuff like that. But like now there's no excuse. I have to like work on these things,
Okay,
So the next time I go on a competition show, I'm going to be armed with like all kinds of dough.
Noodles and dumplings, you're going to crush.
Right?
Right?
Bring it.
Everyone's favorite food is Asian food if you know anything about the world.
That's right.
Excuse
me. It's totally inoffensive material here.
No, you know what I haven't made yet though are those and I haven't gotten around to it, but I haven't made the Korean little rice cake.
Oh, the dog.
I love that.
Just rice in whatever shape.
Yeah.
So all these things really reminding me. So I've been doing this daily talk show virtually reality. Because everything became such a mind fuck because things are changing so fast. Every single conversation I have with chefs, creators, movers, and shakers like yourself,
Not
and many of them not drink and travel. I mean, a lot of it has to do with a lot of other juicy topics. But when I get back to talking to chefs, which is of course my core, because I just love to eat.
Like
all I like to say, I don't really talk about food. I talk about life through the lens of food. Right now, I'm talking about food. This is fun. You know,
and one of the biggest is like life lived
kind of like moments of quarantine and just regular life, but especially stark while in quarantine.
that like the feeling that
you can still have this like fun and joy, and it's from eating some really simple food at home.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, I love that everybody's making bread and stuff because, you know, I do too, and I have a starter that I started when I got out here, and which is what I often do when I travel anyway. If I'm going to be somewhere for a period of time, I'm like, for sure, I'm going to figure out how to make pizza here. It actually happened to me in China because I was there last year for a month, traveling around with a guy who works at Yale University in between Beijing and New Haven, and then one of the professors of history specializing in food history, Professor Paul Friedman came with us for a couple weeks, and my friend Anita Lowe, Chef Anita Lowe. So we went to all these different provinces.
Yeah.
What's that?
Legend,
yes, it's so fun. So I've traveled with Anita a lot and lots of different adventures, but we went to all different provinces, and then probably about 80% of the way through the trip, we were in, I forgot exactly where that was. Was that Hangzhou? Something like that. Maybe Suzhou. And we came to a place where we were going to be talking about plant-forward cuisines and kind of a summit conference thing. And there was a pizza oven in part of this beautiful kitchen. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to make pizza. Because I've been eating, you know, Chinese food, all different kinds, and amazing. But I was like, I'm going to use all these ingredients. You know, like I just hadn't had enough opportunities to cook sort of creatively when I was there. Like I had to make some dishes and kind of use some of the things I was learning in different areas. But to make, you know, pizza with not using Italian ingredients, not using California, not using New York ingredients, but using like, you know, miso, dobenjang as sort of a base. It made me come up with so many different things. I made like this dobenjang bechamel kind of base with pineapple and chilies, and, fermented tofu, but it was just so cool because, like, first of all, it was like a vegan focused place, and so I was kind of just playing around with a lot of the different ingredients there, and it came out great. But so my point is, I made a starter when I first got there, so I was like, oh, the pizza thing is happening. And everybody was like so excited about it because I just kind of came in and I was like, okay, what can I make here?
So this is a restaurant in Hangzhou or Suzhou that is like modern, as in like inventive, like.
Yeah, it was a really cool.
Using local ingredients. That sounds really edgy. Like we don't have a restaurant like that in New York or LA.
It was actually a really beautiful resort kind of. Really cool hotel, so it was like one of the nicest places that we stayed in the whole trip. But just beautiful modern architecture, and then it had all different kinds of kitchen workstations, and had a wine bar, and then it had like a coffee bar, and then so it was kind of like a little bit of all different parts of the world.
Like one of those all-inclusive kind of places to stay, where the pizza is part of the.
It's just one of your options, yeah. Like there was a whole like single
equivalent like Four Horsemen, but pizza and like natural wines and
I don't know what it was really like, but I never seen anything like this place. But it was like they had a big conference room, so that's where they had this big Plant Forward Food Summit, and it was really cool. But the pizza thing was just kind of a sidebar. It was sort of like. That wasn't really part of anybody's programming.
No one's opening restaurants now, but we could hold on to this one, right?
They were making like full on just margarita pizzas and maybe, you know, it was like prosciutto and all that stuff was there. but I was like, I'm not interested in that. Let's use what people have here, you know, make some cool pieces.
You're definitely one of those chefs. Like usually, I'm not going to talk about ingredients and food all the time, but because you just did this epic trip to China, and you probably know now more about regional Chinese food than I do, and I look more Asian than you. So
except for when I smile.
Huh?
Except for when I smile.
Oh, ah! I know my eyes are very small right now. All right, we're gonna stay on. So, what are those regions that you went to? And give
us a little 101 because that was everyone's gonna learn something.
Well, I mean, I feel like I barely cracked into it, but we started in Beijing, and you know, even Devin, who was our host, taking us around everywhere, was like, I think he probably said, oh, you know, the food in the north can be a little bit more like meat and potatoes, meaning like it's not meat and potatoes, but it's kind of like in the sort of the northern part of the United States, and that it, you know, there's more things that grow as you get further south, and you get more coastal. So that was kind of interesting because we weren't. And the other thing is, like, we went and actually cooked and ate lunch with some monks at like the oldest Buddhist monastery in, I think that was just outside of Hangzhou. And that was just, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Was the oldest. It was built in like 34. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And we just had so many things like every day that I, you know, blew my mind. But my favorite region that we went to was the Sichuan province. So we went to Chengdu, and that's where the food is just so dynamic, and everybody food world talks about it. But it's between the Szechuan peppercorns, green and red, to just all of that mala flavoring and way of cooking that's so different than how I've been taught to cook. So I mean, I just tasted everything and really just thoroughly enjoyed all of the it's like the same spices are used in a lot of dishes, but it's all about just very slightly changing the increments. There's nothing like really heavy-handed about the cooking, even though it seems like it, because you've got that chili oil with the
fragrance. It's the fragrance is a great way to punch someone in the face without punching them in the face in the best possible way.
Yeah, yeah, it was just so cool because we got to go to the market there and met this really great woman who's doing a program of teaching kids how to cook and sort of be contribute to the family at the table. And it was something that reminded me of like Alice Waters in the Edible Schoolyard, because you know, this woman just teaches. She's like very concerned that there's a few decades of people in China who don't cook anymore, not unlike the United States. Mm-hmm. And like, look at this you know, quarantine period has made, if at first people were like, oh my gosh, I need help, I don't know how to cook anything. And so like, how critical is it for people to remember how to, you know, harvest things, cook things, be resourceful, not create food waste, save money while you're doing it. Like all the things that we kind of have been talking about for several years seem to be suddenly so urgent. And then this woman in China is already teaching the same thing. So it was so cool because we met this little girl. Her name is Yo-Yo, and she was like 7 years old, I think. And we went to the market with her, which was just extraordinary. Like just to see all of the noodles and all of the fried dough that I never, like, it was just mind-blowingly good. It was like, Anita and I were just like, oh, it's the best one ever. And then like all the produce and, you know, just all the mushrooms and it was immaculate there in this one little market too. And went back to her apartment with she and her mother and her grandmother, and they cooked lunch for us. And she made chopstick noodles for us, which are kind of like a real simple dough, but just flour and water together. And then and it's like the size of the noodle is like a chopstick size. So she made this little kid made it for us, like no problem. She's like, we had a translator, so she was saying, I'm going to use 500 grams of flour, and then I'm going to add, you know, 250 milliliters of water. But I'm going to start with 200 just because it might be a little humid today. And I was like, oh my God, do you know how hard that is to teach people? Understand the feeling of the dough, you know? So, and then she played like some Chopin or something on the piano for us too. And I was like,
was that a joke or?
No, she was just incredible. She was just and
she played piano. I
It was
thought
just no, it was a lovely afternoon because she welcomed us to to their house, and she poured us some tea. Then she played the piano. She showed us some toys, and she played piano, and then she showed us how to make the noodles, and then we all sat down and had lunch together. It was perfect.
And then she played piano.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really.
You know how much people can have as little, like, why is this little Asian kid just?
I know.
Who's ready for Harvard immediately, like tomorrow?
Yeah. I met so many incredible people there too. Some of the trip was hard just because we ran into some male chefs that were a little bit like they can be sometimes. And then here, Anita and I are, well-respected chefs in the United States, and but female. So that was just, it was kind of like being thrown back in time a little bit. So that was, I mean, we've been dealing with this kind of issue for a while, but haven't experienced it like that in a long time. So passive, quiet, nothing aggressive, but just different. And but then we did meet so many great people in different areas too, and some of the great chefs.
What would be one specific difference that? And also, I want to throw in
a whole nother dimension of LGBTQ reception in
the U.S. and in other countries when you travel. So all of things. So
what was the reception from the men from?
Anita and I we talked about it maybe a couple times. I think when we were in probably Shanghai, I was like, there's got to be like some cool, old gay bar here, but we didn't have time to figure it out. We were just having to run from one thing to the other. Yeah. But just to see like some history, or if there is any notion of anything, but we really didn't have time to investigate that so much, just because we were looking at food and ingredients and talking about food constantly.
Right. But the male chefs, like, what was the discernible
difference? How did it manifest?
It really just it was really early on in our trip. We were in one city, and really just kind of got thanks for being here. And you guys, we basically used you to promote this event, but you don't need to cook anything. We're just going to take your ingredients and your recipes and make our own thing with it. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And you guys just sit there and look pretty, and it'll be fine. And I'm like, wow, that's not what I do at all.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Very, 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 very interesting.
That didn't fly so well with Chef Lowe either.
Yeah.
As you can imagine.
Yeah. That woman has got a strong resting bitch face.
That's so true. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes I'm like, I can't tell if she's happy or pissed off at me right now. And she just turns and smiles. I'm like, oh, it's all good.
You're
is like way more like searing.
And then you
feel like you're smiling. She's like the kindest person, but just she looks
totally
so intimidating.
Yeah. I hadn't had it.
And Anita is very serious and really good at what she does. So that was
you made me dream of the dumpling with the truffle in it.
Oh, and then the foie.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Just
whatever. Just foie, truffle.
I know.
Cool.
So many things that people, I cook all the time, but I was making this, I've been making a lot of videos of me cooking, but
where can are these on your Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to.
I've just been posting them in my stories, basically.
I should dive in the newest one that you've been doing in quarantine, just being more intentional about.
Hey, grandmas are doing cooking shows.
So, Michelle Kwan's cooking in your kitchen.
Yeah, right.
Right. No, really, who are you?
I mean, it just gives. It's like it gives you something else to like. Yeah, no, it gives you something else to do. We have this, format of all these little devices, and I'm somewhat used. I mean, I'm used to being on the television screen here and there, but and I'm comfortable doing Instagram posts and whatever. But I've never really made myself focus on this format. So I think that this period of time is also, besides wanting to cook some things and not necessarily really trying to show people how to make a ton of different recipes, because I feel like there's a lot of that information already out there, but more like how can I translate this into what I'm feeling right now besides what I'm wanting to cook. So I think some of my little short video pieces on IGTV are like just meant they're edited, so they're I'm just trying to put this information together as we're receiving it, and how my reaction is, kind of like the way I am as a chef. I'm just going to keep doing. I'm going to put my head down and get to work and get busy and focus and learn more things.
Right.
But so hopefully, I mean, and some of them little bits and pieces are, I think, more emotional, just because it's an emotional time right now. Just it's just different. So I'm kind of just almost trying to wrestle with that in this short video making in a way too.
Are you editing yourself?
Yeah. I just
spent the morning. I realized I'm desperately excited to
put up all of these IG TVs in a closer to 1 hour format on, because like it's just nice to have it here. I'm not like, oh my god, let me give you a little teaser and you go somewhere. But then
the truth is very technically
somersaulty to do it a larger file. So that was my morning. Super glamorous. Still not done.
Well, it's kind of crazy because you end up spending so much time. I'm like, oh, I gotta just walk away from this,
It's a lot. So we have. Are you cooking the soup right now?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cook some of the noodles because I'm gonna explain it to you, and I'm gonna move my camera around a little bit here.
Wow.
Just so I can kind of give you a little rundown of how this.
I couldn't believe yesterday while you get off the train. I just wanted to emphasize we believe
that we we're like, hey,
we're show.
Yeah.
You come out. Noodle soup is what my soul is made out of.
So, long story short, today my mom died.
Taiwanese beef noodle soup for 120 people at a conference of movers and shakers.
And realize that this is the vessel through which noodle soup is the vessel through which I tell stories, because sometimes
with the topic like food, it's so broad,
and everyone loves food, but it's like
why do you love food, right?
So what I realized is that as a little immigrant
kid, my parents didn't say I love you by saying I love you verbally. Instead, they would just feed me all the food.
And that was their way of saying, I love you so much unconditionally, my precious child.
Especially cut watermelon and dumplings and noodle soups. So when my mother passed away, I shared with this crowd that to be hungry is such a privilege, because I saw her be so sick and not hungry. And to be able to be hungry and satiate the hunger with the bounty for us right now, like what you're put together, is even more of a privilege. So it was, for me, the noodle soup is a huge celebration of life.
Ooh, wow, you're making all sorts of noodles, so we want to do it like
I've had yummy noodle soup before, though, like many years ago. You've been making that soup.
Did.
Yeah, I went to your soup party in New York.
So that was not a dream. You mean last 5 years or 7 years is not a dream?
Right.
I'm
going to explain this to you really quick, though. So I used like probably 80% flour, just because this is the buckwheat flour I have.
Ooh.
So this is like a whole grain, which is, I think, a little richer than the lighter version that they typically use for soba noodles. But anyway, I made like a pasta dough with water, and then I just rolled it. I didn't use a pasta sheeter to sheet it. I just rolled it out and then put tapioca starch between it, like that.
So you were saying about the tapioca starch.
You keep the noodles separate in Chinese noodles versus the
semolina in Italian noodle making, to keep them separate, and how that was intriguing.
Can you clarify?
Well, just when you're making Italian pasta, sometimes you just put the ravioli or the whatever pasta in a bed of semolina. So semolina being like Durham wheat flour, it's a little coarser,
Yeah.
sandy like, and that helps keep the pasta from sticking to each other, and it also dehydrates the pasta a little bit more. So, but in this case, I'm just using, and I'm making like this is like the farmer's rustic version of noodles because I don't have one of those cool knives.
It's actually it's the old and new craze.
Okay.
You cut the noodles with a knife. It's literally knife cut.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you see like Japanese noodle makers have like this perfect cool little board thing that helps them make the perfect really special knife. It's really cool. Like I kind of need one, but I don't really because I have too many knives. So this is fine because same with like pasta making. I don't always have all the tools that I want to use, and it's okay because people over so many centuries have been making all kinds of noodles with whatever equipment they have. So,
yeah.
Can you guys see that? It's just like just a yummy. The tapioca starch keeps everything from sticking together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put a little bit more on it. And this is what I think is so cool about a lot of noodle making and Chinese noodles too, is like you just kind of scrunch that starch on the dough. So it's pretty good. I got some here that I've been chilling.
This kind of feels like a farmer, like a rustic farmer's like.
Soba.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. I've got some boiling water over here, and then I'll cook this in a minute. Well, it's not boiling just yet. So as soon as it's boiling, I'll cook it. But then I also thought it would be cool to explain what I'm doing on the inside for the sauce. So I'm really just using like what I have around. So like right now I have a sauce that I made yesterday for a kale salad vinaigrette, and I posted that yesterday too. But it's it has a teeny bit of, this is not very Japanese, obviously, but it's kind of a nice hybrid, and it's really tasty. So I mixed just because I've got lots. I mean, I can only put so many condiments in my mom's fridge. It's kind of getting out of control. So I have this is a combination of a little bit of tamarind concentrate, little tiny bit of brown sugar, and then some olive oil with some red onion, garlic, and ginger, and some serrano chili. So there's a little, that was just sort of like a little bit of leftover vinaigrette that I had with some Asian flavors, right? And then I also have oil that I made with, I mean, it's such a hybrid around here. I've got Korean chili flakes, and then sesame seeds and Chinese fermented black beans, and sesame oil. So I made a chili oil, that I infused star anise and ginger. So that's one of my favorite things right now is the condiments, like that yummy Chengdu style.
Yeah, that's deep in soup ginger chili oil form.
Exactly. So I put a little bit of that in here. It also has a little. I don't have like any of the Chinese vinegars here. This is like very not. There's no market like that here.
How about California? We're allowed to.
I just need to go to another part of Los Angeles right now. But so I used a little.
Yeah, exactly. 99 Ranch Wonderland. 99 Ranch Wonderland. Mitsuya.
Yeah. So I used I put a little to make this come together a little bit more. So I've got sesame seeds and peanuts in there, but I've got a little bit of like a red scallion, and I'm gonna put a little bit of ponzu because I have some of that, and trying to think if I put anything else in here. Oh, I put a little bit of rice wine vinegar and a little bit of sherry vinegar because I don't really have any of that. Like, I love is that sorghum vinegar. Have you ever had that?
I mean,
it's so tasty. Like a black vinegar kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. You like kind of stinky black, kind of like really good with like thinly julienne ginger with the like perfect soup dumplings. Okay.
Exactly.
Speaking of, since you've been like telling me all the deliciousness, Elizabeth, you have been to Taiwan, right?
No, I've never been to Taiwan. I know. I really want to go there.
some of our influencer community and Andrew Zoom to Taiwan with Taiwan Tourism Board a few years ago. Sorry, they wanted only Andrew Zimmer. Hi, Andrew Zimmer. And I mean, Taiwan, you would like
okay.
that needs to be, so one of my
favorite questions to ask is
is nice. So not that we
let's think about where we're gonna go first, like trip-wise,
Right.
but what I'm saying is, hello, you
and meeting in Taiwan.
because it's not
Taipei, but in some other city, I'm blanking on what city, but what I don't blank out on is
this restaurant that takes like duck
and roasted, like cherry wood, like something about cherry and duck, but the point is it's a beautifully perfectly roasted duck, better than anywhere in China, hands down, clearly.
You never
in China.
that was a lot. So, just the
perfect roast duck, done all sorts of ways, rather than
wonderful,
anything.
and one of the first courses is duck skin and nigiri. So duck skin
on top of like a mound of perfect rice.
Oh man, yeah.
Just like unfair. Like, so come with me to Taiwan. So where are you going first, outside of Leiti's judgment?
Well, I know I don't know yet because I want to go to so many places. You know, I did go to Thailand for the first time right after China. So I mean, and I just I love the food there too. So I love all these different kinds of cuisines. Like I want to go there again. I want to go to Taiwan. I haven't been to Japan for 20 years. And I love Japanese food. I mean, I'm just crazy about the approach to it so much. But then I also can't wait to go back to Paris. I love Italy like crazy. Just it's not environmentally, it's kind of a lot like California, but maybe that's why I'm enjoying it here so much. Yeah, so many places, you know.
First establishment, first small business that you want to
step into.
I would say in Los Angeles here.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in LA.
Or maybe back in New York. I really want to go. I do want to go back to New York and go to, Dirt Candy, Prune. Hopefully, I just read Gabrielle's piece this morning in the New York Times magazine from this weekend. It's a great piece. You have to read it.
Okay.
And then there's just about this period of time and closing the restaurant.
She's an incredible writer.
Yeah.
And that restaurant is such a darling restaurant.
Yeah, really. It's right here.
Yeah.
And then of course I have my favorite pizza places because I'm such a pizza fanatic. So I want to go to Raza in Jersey City because I love Dan. And have you ever been there? Raza. That guy is so good. Razza. And then. Oh my God, it's a great pizza place right in Jersey City.
Okay.
And I did a fun little pop-up with him just a couple months ago, but it's so good. His dough is so good. He makes great bread. He makes his own butter. And I love Lucali. I live close to Lucali in Brooklyn.
Marcus popped into our audience a few times.
He's just
what
a guy.
I know. And I also love these guys over at Table 87. They have a few shops, but there's one over on Atlantic Avenue, and I go there at least once a week when I'm home. It's all those kind of things, you know. It's all those kind of places. And then I'm like, oh my God! But there's so many places that I haven't been to New York, and I want to go to them, you know. So I hope I don't know. I hope people can get the money and the relief funds and stuff because what is New York without all of its restaurants, you know?
I would have to say New York. You and I are not working out. We're gonna have to take a break.
It's brutal. And all the different kinds of food there that's just so accessible. LA has a lot of food too, but it is so spread out, all the different communities.
Thank you. Jonathan Gold, rest in peace, and spend all the time seeking out dumplings all over. Like sometimes we just want to like trip and fall into, you know, a really delightful natural wine bar or a
Yeah.
shop.
Coffee that makes milks, and then in-house, and then Michelin starred 5 counter, and then this omakase spot, and then noodle soups and noodle soups and noodle soups and everything. So
Talking about the neighborhood of around Lower East Side where I am.
Totally.
are you still in
So
that
I'm in
apartment where we did the
the-
yoga sword fighting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Over in Brooklyn Heights.
Cool. Oh, so guess what? Since then and now, I have actually become gluten-free-ish because my just looked at me like very, very.
I went, oh no.
No, like not like in a big way, more like in a good to know information about myself. Don't want
Okay.
To have autoimmune things happen. And
Sure.
to irritate my.
Yeah.
It's very real.
But the good thing is that there are so many other things to use. You know, like I still like make a lot of things with different, wheat and stuff, but I love the combinations of like rice flour and rice starch with tapioca starch and corn, like different starches,
yeah,
and developing a kind of structure with xanthan gum and locust bean gum, because I think they're all really interesting too, not just as this alternative, but as this is actually really good and interesting,
Well, Asian
cuisine culture,
culture
and I want to add that extra word culture on there, is that there are noodles that are just a way of life that are added or gluten-free. Like I did quarantine because I made a hot japchae, like with sweet potato
noodles.
and like
Oh yeah.
it's impossible to fuck up. You boil it a lot, you boil it a little, it's all the same kind of like QQ.
And they're so good.
They're so good. They're so good, and they're so much better for you.
Yeah.
Even if you're not gluten-free, and then I get some konjac. And I realized that something about my mouth.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I love konjac. I think that's one of the coolest things. Yeah.
I love
I
konjac.
love that. Yeah.
So good. It goes down. You're like, I just could eat lots of it, and
It really is just pure goodness. It's not.
there might be a little bit of additives in most, Oh wow.
Look at that.
Oh, and then Robin
Ask
iron.
what are you making now?
That's so sweet. I'm making, okay, I've got some of those noodles. I'm putting them in this because it's a like clear bowl around here.
Yeah.
And then I chopped up like 2 giant red mustard green leaves. Mustard greens? Love them. They're in season right now. And they come in all different sizes. There's all different kinds of mustard greens. So they can be frilly little red ones. They can be these big green or kind of slightly red ears. I love them so much. And and then I also took 2 baby collard green leaves and just chopped those up. So I love collard greens like I like kale, just not even cooked, but just kind of made a little chiffonade of all those. And I chopped up that red scallion that I had. So all the green stuff. And then I've got my dressing here that's like a vinaigrette kind of. It's like
Your crazy dressing.
crossover, yeah. It's got like ginger, chili, garlic, a little bit of red onion, soy ponzu sauce. A tiny bit of fish sauce, but anything that's got all the salty stuff, right? And then I threw in some peanuts and sesame seeds with my chili oil in there, and blah blah blah. And then some sunflower seeds because I happen to have those too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! All the good fats, antioxidants,
I like this idea of if you eat more
the vegetables, your
microbiome gets
kaleidoscopic.
That's true.
right?
On the outside and the inside.
They're like the probiotics. And now you're making me wonder what's the difference between prebiotics and probiotics. Anyway, the bacterial equivalent of an acid trip for your gut health.
Something like maybe a little safer.
A little safer. So what has been your comfort food quarantine?
in quarantine?
It does change. It's getting so much hotter here now. It was pretty cool for the first few weeks I've been here, but this week it's totally turned, and it's definitely hotter outside. So that kind of makes me want to grill more and do things outside and have refreshing salads. And then all of the produce is changing too. So we're going into spring. Like now, there's like fava beans and English peas and asparagus, and so my comfort food is what's in season, basically. My comfort food is what's in season.
Ah, really?
For sure.
So
That's so lovely. It's so delicious.
Look at that.
That looks
ridiculous. I love the color.
Yeah, I kind of like all the green stuff in there.
Okay, so
This is
very Muslim, like a Japanese or not to make everything in Japanese. I think
just a PSA to everyone out there. Ramen really gets so much
share
of the pie. Like everything, not all noodle soups are ramen. And
right.
And there's like one universe of noodle soup, and one galaxy of noodle soup, and it's not. It has to do with the noodles, the soup. It's like
so the way everything comes together and the way that things are done. It's like quite a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have one galaxy over here, and ramen can be like ramen in a restaurant. Ramen or it could be like
noodles
ramen.
Great. Then there's all these other galaxies. So I'm so excited to bring everyone along with us on a cosmonautic journey to
noodle trip.
Explore just like.
Well, how would you describe your noodle soup? I think your noodle soup you're making now
is essentially like the Faulkner culture. Like it's like you took everything that you know and love, and like
spun it into
some creation just for the day, kind of whatever.
Typically works for me in most situations where I'm just trying to. I feel like a chef is a storyteller. I feel like I'm constantly storytelling through food. So I'm also just trying to be resourceful with what I have instead of just like, oh, today I'm going to make this recipe and I have to follow these rules. That's not how people really cook. That's not how people have survived for so long. And
you don't make a topic for every fancy.
Right. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just a delivery service of these ingredients and this is how you do it. But
pretty job today.
And I don't mean that in that there isn't a need for those things, but like this is just, I like to cook so much, and I like to sort of bring the stories or experiences I've had to the bowl or the plate. And so yeah, I think like sometimes most of the time it typically works for me. The hardest times I have are sometimes on the TV shows where like I think it's going to be a good day and it's just a bad golf day or whatever, where I'm just like, this did not work. And that does happen to me at home too. Sometimes like I'm just hungry and I'm trying to put things together and I'm trying to use what I have, and then I'm like, I'll sit down and I'll be like, this is not good. Actually, this is just making me mad. But I learned from that too, just like everybody else. So I don't,
Okay, so thank you for your vulnerability. We really need it because.
Or like the first time I ever made pot stickers, like I know how to make a lot of different pastas, but like getting the little pleat thing, it's takes practice. And when the first times I was doing it, I'm like, oh god, it's like the first time I made ravioli, like the filling coming out of the top, and then I try to cook them, and then they're stuck to the pan, and I'm like, I'm never making these again. And then I make them and try to like just put myself in the right frame of mind and generate, some other chef personalities or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, I got this, and now it just takes practice. Everything takes practice.
So it's good to know because. Good to know. This is a great therapy, like a quarantine therapy session, because this is long to my adult life. I want to ask adult life. I've been to a restaurant,
like this unbelievable for me,
and I'm completely
still hungry, entertained, delighted by food. Like
me feel um, joyful that I
really
do. I know that I love itself. Like I think I'm astonished that I haven't been bored.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just like, the thing where you're a prisoner
and you believe that your back door is amazing. The syndrome.
But it's been really fun to throw together just like stuff, what you have, and
even using more big farmers market box that I don't know the name of, but just by tasting it, you can tell it's some kind of
sea bean like, marine veggie kind of crunchy thing, and then just like it just a couple of people search later.
What did you get? That sounds like. Did you get something like sea beans or a greddy or?
It was the non-sea bean. It was something that's like sea beans but not sea beans. And then I think only later on, once I contacted the farm, hey Pam Wiz,
hey,
like, oh my god, Pam is so dope. And John just his company
gluten-free beverages doing really well. Yeah, he's doing great. So
you and I, we did a
yeah.
We barbecued vegetables, meat, more vegetables, more vegetables, shrimp, whatever. We had a lot of things. There was a piano next to the hot tub.
Yeah, that's right.
Piano's now engaged. We married to Natalia. At the engagement on accident,
big group like thing.
Uh-huh.
So we wanted this food media company at South by and Elizabeth
grilled everything, and we got to DIY our own spring summer rolls.
Oh yeah, we did.
That was
mm-hmm.
We need to redo that.
That was so fun. We grilled some branzino.
Whole branzino.
Yeah. That was so delicious and fun.
And then people hot tubbed and together into the evening.
I think I left for you.
Okay, got it. I was just like, so.
I think I went to a restaurant.
Oh, you went to a real restaurant? Oh, I see. All right. Well,
I had to go visit some other chefs or something.
It was so what there's something around, and I have, and the time we have. So the time we have left, I want to recap those noodles, like how to make it, the portion of the 500 grams, or like literally I want to go right now because it's nearly relevant. I have to send it to myself. With that, and then I've got I just got like more questions for you.
Okay. The pasta, I happen to have some buckwheat flour here that I haven't been using very much because I've got a few different flours, but I was like, you know what, some kind of cold noodle sounds good, so I think I'll try to make some version of soba noodle. I can't say that they're authentic, but I use a little bit of all-purpose flour. This is what I use. And then I use this guy. I use like 75, 80. But this is what's the flip, because that's buckwheat flour. Buckwheat flour doesn't have gluten. So in order for it to come together and be some kind of structure without falling apart, it needs to have some other flour. So I use proportionally more of the all-purpose flour to the buckwheat flour, which is not typical in soba noodle making. You do the opposite. But I think it's because it's grain buckwheat flour. So I use those guys, like I said, 75, 80% white flour and 20 to 25% buckwheat flour. And then I just added some warm water. And I probably, it's so different from wherever you are what the humidity level is. It's very dry here today in Southern California. And I probably, I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I could make it for you again, but it's just enough to make it feel like it's starting to come together. Just because you're going to knead it like a pasta dough. And
it's the shape of Play-Doh.
Yeah, exactly. And I let it rest for a good 30 minutes, and then I just rolled it out probably I let it rest for an hour actually. Then I rolled it out just with a rolling pin and some tapioca starch, and I just rolled it out just really thin, just trying to get it about like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch thick.
Literally, like,
yeah, you can vary it, because if it comes out like more of a block shape, that's fine. This is more, almost like a fettuccine in a way. And then I folded the dough over on itself and then cut it into little ribbons. Cooked it in boiling water, and then I chopped up some scallion and a little bit of whatever leaves. Could be anything. Could be like spinach. I happen to have collard greens and mustard leaves. I just cut those up, and I mix that together with a little sauce with, again, this would be like anything salty, spicy, nutty.
Yeah, totally.
Little vinegar. Yeah.
It's a little salad, and it's just
and so, like a little lime juice is always good, especially like in
acid,
yeah,
some heat, some oil, some this, that, and fragrance.
It's got all that.
Yeah, it's that.
That's really such a, you just took me through a noodle thing that was so liberating, because who's to think that they should deserve how to make noodles? Like, it's just a simple art project. It's just a simple arts and crafts project. Kind of dumb it down, make it sound dumbed down, but really, like,
otherwise,
everyone's obsessing over that perfect noodle, right? Like,
but like what you just made is simply like dough,
and like, it makes sense. And it's gonna be delicious. And
I'm as much as I love like the absolute best of something, like Lucali's pizza, absolute best. But when it comes to like just what you make, it's like rough around the edges.
It's super delicious and super whole, and it's just like good.
Yeah, and also I think when you make stuff, it makes you respect. When you go to a restaurant and you have like somebody who makes really good noodle soups, or somebody who makes really good pasta, somebody makes really good whatever. It's like I love to cook all the time, but I miss going to other people's restaurants and having other people's food. Like I want to have other people's food too, because I know some people are masterful at some things and better than I am at it, and I just respect and love that. So, I need a good. I just think it's good to make things at home, but also it makes you appreciate other people's.
Absolutely, including making a French souffle and
culinary class and being like, okay, all right, that's good. Okay, this is why I'm flying to Paris right now and having all the.
But don't you see? Like it's the same with the phyllo. Like I feel so accomplished after I master something new like that. Like that when you can make croissants and make, puff pastry, and you get used to it without it being a total disaster. It's like you feel so accomplished, and you should feel. They're not easy things to do.
So we only have 139 left, and I have one last question for you. Okay. And of course we should do this way more often, because that was wonderful. Okay, regular noodle soup dance party hang. We have to incorporate the dancing in. This is a time where we get to hang out with, frankly, like our parents a whole lot more than we expected.
So what's been like the I think thinking about hanging out with mom, who
time and
I know. Oh, my mom and I get along really well, and we haven't spent this much back-to-back time together, except for maybe the last time we were on a cruise from Venice to Istanbul, but that was still shorter than this period of time. But we just kind of, my mom has a lovely little house here, and a yard for my dog to run around in, and we just kind of like, just like everybody, like we're kind of getting. We don't really have a routine, except for I get up really early and she goes to bed really late. So somewhere we just kind of meet in the middle for one coffee, and then maybe we go for a walk. But I'm so happy to be here with her. Well, we watch TV at night too. We'll try to watch something fun until I'm ready to fall asleep. Like last night, we just watched Get Smart, the movie, and it's so funny. It's so funny. It's like just made me forget everything and laugh my head off. And I'm cooking all the time, and I think she's pretty. I think she's pretty psyched about it, so it's nice.
I'm happy for you too. I'm just sending all of the love and deliciousness, and let's do this noodle soup dance party again with the dance. And
okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Leiti.